I'm dyslexic, very, very proud dyslexic, which made it extremely difficult for me to cope up with my school. Thankfully, high performance coaching taught me that every mental challenge has a corresponding solution. So I learned to delegate very early on. I got corporate assignments when I was just 20 with companies like IBM. I am a high performance coach and a behavioral analyst. I talk on the topic of productivity. I run India's only mental fitness gym called APT. And I believe, like the way we work out our bodies to create a certain kind of shape and strength and agility, we can do the same thing with our minds by training it in a certain way. And when it comes to high performance, it's all about training your mind, constantly challenging it, creating that right mindset, and not giving into your victim story. So it's like kind of a practice that you have to do on a regular basis to craft the performance that you build. And I'm a content creator. I speak about productivity in all my content. I'm a podcaster and a writer. I feel people are mathematical. Every person has a pattern, and most of the time we don't understand it or they themselves don't get it. And that creates most of the complication. We think our emotions are real and whatever we feel is true, but that's a trained behavior. And the day I understood it, on my path of becoming a behavioral analyst, I had a moment, eureka moment. I'm like, oh my God, if our emotions are chemicals reacting to certain kind of training, what can I train myself and others on so that we can have a performance on a cue? There's this concept by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He is an Austrian psychiatrist. He studied people who were in a zone when they performed. They lost the track of time and they just got into a very deep, active mind state. And they called it flow. And he picked that and he did a lot of research around it. I feel high performance coaching is about knowing how can you get into a state of flow on a cue. And that's, to me, is the most fascinating part. Being a dyslexic is a hurdle every single day. Like, people know that dyslexics can't read easily, but a bigger struggles than that is we can't create the sequence easily, which means I would not remember most of the sequential bank or OTP numbers or flight details or like the time sequencing. So that becomes a very, very big challenge. Also, any executive functions, so writing emails to everyday issues are very, very challenging. Thankfully, high performance coaching taught me that every mental challenge has a corresponding solution. So I learned to delegate very early on, and I always had a bunch of people who supported my executive function every day, getting things executed. And that just made my life easier. But I learned a lot with that limitation. So yes, it was a hurdle. If you ask me, for any professional, any dyslexic, it's a big struggle. And most of the time, dyslexic people choose to be entrepreneurs because they can't do everyday job, 9 to 5 jobs easily. So I think all of us have figured a way. So you know what I'm saying. So many of them, when you talk about behavioral assessment, in Indian context, people generally have this idea that they know themselves. So it wasn't very easy to crack. I also started working as a professional when I was just 18. I was good at what I did because of the insights I had with all the observations or my overall dyslexic gifts. So I got corporate assignments when I was just 20 with companies like IBM and JSW, which was then called as Path. But when I walked into the the meeting rooms and boardrooms, people thought what this child would talk about any which ways. So it was a lot of trying to convince people, sometimes as a woman, sometimes as a younger adult. So that was like a big struggle when I started my career almost 20 years ago now. But I feel every day constantly building this, because we don't have much awareness on this work. People do not think mind can play such an important role. They understand it when they have breakdowns, but everyday riyaz for mind is not as common as it is for body. So people do diet and medical checkup and so much for the body, but very little for the mind. So I think that is a challenge, that is a battle I fight every single day, but I believe that somebody has to do it, and I have signed up for the role, so it doesn't matter. I'm very, very proud that during the lockdown, we worked with more than 40,000 people and helped them with the tools that can help them become mentally stable, more growth-minded, and that feels amazing. First of all, know that your dyslexia is a superpower, though it doesn't feel like when you try to implement it on everyday basis, but there is always a gift. And I know so many dyslexics. I'm part of these communities and even globally, and every dyslexic after a point discovers a gift. For me, the gift was having human insights, but I must tell you, if it was not for that gift, I don't know what I would have done in my life. I so many times turn back and I'm like, oh, if it were not for that discovery, just going through normal schooling and normal job, or writing emails, that's like a nightmare on a daily basis. But when you discover your gift, and if you harness it and you work extremely hard to get that gift really, really professionally viable, I think you become invincible. So if you have dyslexia, remember, it's not a weakness. They call it disability, but I always feel it's a special, special gift. And I'm very, very happy and proud that I'm dyslexic. I love that line when they say bold girls create history, because in so many ways, when you are trying to do something different, and in our case, sometimes just embracing yourself and being who you are and saying this is what you demand, or you don't want to follow the norm of gender biased roles that we get, in whichever way, if you have a voice, you might be the bolder one. And I can tell you most of the time you are. So that is a point where you stand there and do not back off, do not change gears because others are uncomfortable. Because being bold is a privilege. Being bold is the requirement. Being bold is what you must do for yourself, if not for others. Please do not give up your voice. Stand up and have your own back.